try to beat me, please.
All right, now comes the part where we talk about wrestling.
Yeah, my favorite part.
Now, Tom, I know you're a wrestling fan, so what is your favorite wrestling match of all time?
My favorite. I'm a historian, man, of wrestling. I can't pick one, man. It's impossible. I know wrestling going back to days when Jerry the King Lawler was the AWA World Champion, and before Ric Flair even won his first world title. I've watched so much wrestling when I was young. I would say it's probably got to be WrestleMania 3 main event. I think if I would have to go with history-making events. If I had to pick a match, I'd have to go with matches that changed history. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant was probably the biggest thing in wrestling at the time, and I think it really changed wrestling for a while. I think Hulk Hogan is responsible for the biggest changes in wrestling. One, he brought wrestling more in home with that main event with Andre the Giant. So many people took notice of it. Christ, man, 93,000, almost 94,000 people showed up to watch that event, just to watch it. So that is probably a big one for me. And I also got to say, I have so many matches that I love to watch. Jerry the King Lawler versus Kurt Hennig for the AWA World Title, when Jerry the King Lawler defeated Kurt Hennig before he left for WWF as Mr. Perfect.
Wow, that's real old school.
Yeah.
I mean, just so many matches. I mean, I have so many matches of Baron von Raschke, who ended up being the manager of the Powers of Pain in WWF. I mean, I'm such a historian of the business, and I love the business so much, which is why I hate John Cena more than anything in the world.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
why
horrible,
is wrestling
dude.
so shitty now?
John Cena is everything that is wrong with wrestling. Well, I don't ever dare knock John Cena for the commitment to the business. Obviously it's a rough business, and he is committed to it. Dude.
Is it because Vince McMahon's wife is a senator? Is that why it's shitty?
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Dude, I would just say, John Cena, learn what the term lay down means for once in your life. Lay the fuck down. I mean, it's so bad. The reason why wrestling got worse is because when Vince McMahon bought WCW, he had no more competition. That was it. He had no reason to. No one pushes wrestling. He owns it all. He is wrestling.
What about TNA wrestling?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Terrible. Why are they still using the ring from the 1980s? Why can't they buy the big ring that everyone else uses? Why? The only thing TNA has is Lacey Von Erich. I went to a TNA event just to meet Lacey Von Erich, to see if she's that good looking in real life. It's the only reason why I went there. I mean, I've watched her whole family wrestle. Since I was a kid. I've watched her for. They're all dead. But I've watched her whole family. So, I mean, John Cena is the biggest problem. Dude, look at Triple H. Here's my example. Triple H would never, ever sign on to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania to end the streak. I believe Triple H believes that either that streak should never be broken, or someone bigger than him should do it. Someone who's going to be greater in this business than him. John Cena would say, yeah, I'll take it. Tight. Yeah. Triple H, they hand out world titles. Triple H could easily surpass Ric Flair, 17, 18 times heavyweight champion of the world, right? But he doesn't out of his respect for the business. And he realizes what a significant marker that is in this business. And he looks up to Ric Flair, and he figures the guy that changes this business should be the guy that takes that from Ric Flair. Or maybe it should never be taken. Maybe it should be immortal. John Cena would say, how many more I need? Yeah, I'll just lose it on Sunday, win it on Monday. 5, 6 more times, I'm good to go. That's John Cena. John Cena is everything that's wrong with wrestling. And he's the reason why if wrestling ever does fail to MMA, it'll be largely because of John Cena.
I disagree completely. I think John Cena has no blame. John Cena's a company man. He just does what they tell him to do. From everything I've ever heard about John Cena, he is not a backstage politician. I mean, you might mean as a symbol, but the actual guy, he's not.
As a symbol. As a symbol.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, the guy, I have no doubt he's a company man, which is why I said I have all the respect that he does what he does in the
So
ring.
who's telling him what to do then?
Stephanie.
And Vince.
Stephanie and Vince are the problem.
Because Shane McMahon left.
Right. All right. When Stephanie took over as head of creative is when the nosedive happened. The year 2000, when they had Chris Kresge as their head writer, was awesome.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 7, they had The Rock at his peak. They had Triple H at his peak. The storylines made sense. It was great stuff. And then when he left and Stephanie took over, it's literally when the downturn begins. They did the terrible Invasion storyline.
Oh, they ruined
It was cool
the
at first.
Invasion.
At first, it was cool. The first Invasion pay-per-view was awesome because you got to see
Right.
everybody
Yeah,
versus everybody.
yeah.
That was one of the best pay-per-views ever. But then they turned it into like, okay, look at this. Remember how in WCW the whole Sting gimmick was cool in the rafters, and it was cool at first because he would randomly show up one day and just drop somebody for no reason. The problem was Sting was in the rafters for 2 years and nobody cared anymore. The Invasion storyline just went on for too long and nobody cared, And then the first ever undisputed champion, Chris Jericho, beating The Rock and Stone Cold. Then they treat him like garbage after that, like he's a worthless piece of trash on the street. They don't know how to put anybody over.
Yeah, they always. Everyone's first title reign, they're chicken shit. Look at The Miz.
Yeah.
And, Del Rio, they always do that. And nowadays they use that Money in the Bank crutch, where everyone's first title reign is the Money in the Bank. Then they lose it about 2 months later, and no one gets over, and no one's...
Dude, look at The Miz. The Miz is my favorite wrestler right now. The Miz was a fucking joke. The man couldn't make it on Tough Enough. The man was made fun of on The Real World. Ha ha ha, if you become a wrestler, you got to be The Miz. He came into WWE getting beat up by John Cena. They gave him some whack-ass gimmick. He made himself the #1 gimmick in all of wrestling, to the point that his rookie Alex Riley was a success because his gimmick was, I'm John Cena, I'm the Miz's rookie. Michael Cole got put over because his gimmick was, I support the Miz. The Miz was so big that everything around him and to do with him became big. It was you haven't seen that in so long. And then they give him they actually held off him winning Money in the Bank because the people, just to give the suspense, because everybody wanted to see it. The Miz had so much attention as the world champion. His gimmick was great. John Cena cannot beat me. He will not beat me. He's never beaten me. Fuck up.
Start and stop pushes where, all right, this guy's now a top guy. Look at Jack Swagger's another example. They were pushing him, then they stop, and now he's a joke again. He's losing to Santino.
It's all politics,
Yeah.
Santino,
and by the way,
that's so bad.
Miz is extremely... Man, I love that video package at WrestleMania before he came out, when they showed his career, when he was on Real World. Then it started playing Hate Me Now. That stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was
cool.
the best part about WrestleMania.
Yeah, The Miz was... And the best part was John Cena didn't win.
Yeah.
It was huge. It's... John Cena has too many lose it on Sunday, win it on Mondays. Too many of those.
John Cena is the record for the most WWE Championship wins. And I'm sure he'll beat Flair overall.
And that should not happen.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
That's a disgrace. First of all, I want to say this. Hulk Hogan is, as much as whatever, Hulk Hogan made it cool to watch wrestling. There was a time when I was growing up, I was into wrestling, but I used to play football, in high school and whatever. You couldn't go to high school and even acknowledge you watched wrestling. You had to basically laugh at people that watched. You idiot, don't you know it's fake? Hulk Hogan with the NWO made it cool to walk down the hallway with an NWO T-shirt, man.
Exactly. Yeah. In high school, it was all about that shit.
NWO. Hulk Hogan made it cool to say, I watch wrestling.
It existed in high school. There were people that liked the WCW characters, and then there was other I was I wasn't the very popular kid in high school, but I could go up to any of the cool kids and do the NWO thing and kiss the fingers thing or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
That's how cool it was. It was totally badass.
Yeah, NWO was the shit.
16-Bit does a really good Paul Bearer impersonation. Have you heard it?
I don't know if it's good.
I've heard it. I've heard it.
It's fucking awesome.
Not that good, man.
Well, let's not keep him in suspense.